Hey everyone, I'm Adora Zachary, the wellness coach and neurofeedback brain technician here at Upper Cervical Wellness Center. I wanted to welcome you to our webinar on how to deal with anxiety, depression, ADHD, and allergies. And those are all things that I've dealt with, and that's part of why I became a wellness coach, because through working with someone like Dr. Weaver as a functional medicine doctor and working with health and wellness for boosting my immune system, I've been able to overcome all of these things, and we're about to share that with you in just a few minutes. But first off, we want to remind you to turn off your cell phones, turn off your television and the radio. If you're in a place where you can be more focused on what we're doing, unless you have kids around, we'd like you to just spend this time with us learning about how we can help you gain control over your allergies and ADHD issues. And so silence your cell phones and get ready for a fun couple of minutes as we share this with you.
My name is Debbie Clavish. I live in Wingate, North Carolina, and I'm a bus driver.
I'm Kelsey McDonald, and I'm 21 years old, and I live in Monroe, North Carolina.
I'm Eric Hedman. I am a student. I'm a high schooler, junior, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
My name is Rodney Helms. I live in Indian Trail, and I work at the local bread company.
I had fallen backwards on my right shoulder and had hurt my shoulder, depression, sinus problems. I had problems with an overactive bladder. I had a little bit of problem with my right knee, my driving knee, and a little bit of arthritis in my thumbs. With the depression, just I work with kids, and working with kids, you need to be happy, and so I just needed some help overcoming that.
I had had heart surgery when I was 12, and then after my heart surgery 6 months later, I ended up having my first seizure. They were very violent. I remember my mom saying that there was times I would lay on the floor and pick my whole body up off the floor, pick the couch up if I was in front of it, and you become very strong in that situation, and it's very embarrassing because you're an adult, but you're acting like a baby and you don't even know it.
He had been having some developmental delays, and so we were trying to find some sort of treatment or process to help him along. A lot of it was we were just trying to figure out, what was going on.
I couldn't focus well, especially with homework. Especially with reading, it was really hard to focus with reading. I'd space out a lot. I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and I had a lot of thoughts that I couldn't control, and that's kind of what led us to doing this.
A friend of mine, Bo Jennings, recommended your office to me and said that they could really help. And so I had gone to my doctor, and I love my regular doctor and everything, but I felt like I had gone as far as I could with him, and he encouraged me over and over to lose weight, do stuff like that, but I needed a little extra help.
Medication, I was a zombie on medication, and they had me, I've been on every neurologic and cardiologist type of medicine there is, and I wasn't doing nothing for me. It was masking the problem instead of helping the problem and making other areas worse. I wanted to get my license, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to be able to get married and have babies, and I knew that was not going to be a possibility with where I was, because I wouldn't even go to a friend's house because I was embarrassed, and I didn't trust anybody. I had trust issues because I was afraid of having a seizure with anybody but my parents, because of someone calling 911, because they can't do nothing. They tell you the same thing because you know what your problem is, and they can't help you. So that was my biggest goal. I knew I wanted to become a normal person instead of this person who had seizures in TJ Maxx and Walmart.
Nobody else was doing this. Mm-hmm. So you guys were kind of seeming like the first to start doing this in the area, mm-hmm. and you were the ones who we heard it from. So that's why we chose you. Well, I was very skeptical at first because, one, what are you kind of doing to me? Like, you're making my head all sticky and tired. But like now, as I was going through it and I was seeing the changes and just my everyday life, I actually responded to it a lot nicer, and I was almost excited to get to it. When the week would come by, like finally I can go back and start to get better.
At first I was, because I remember my dad used to go to a chiropractor and they would take his ankle and put it up to the back of his head and like pop him in all these different areas. And so I didn't know what it was going to be like, and I just remember him doing that. And so I thought, I don't know how this can help when it's considered migraleptic. That would probably give me more of a migraine.
Did not know what to expect at all. Had never heard of this, as a matter of fact. And I was just sort of surprised at how much goes on here. And the support here has been great. I was very surprised, and I'm so glad now I've come.
For one, it's helped me to sleep a little better. I've been able to actually, go to sleep and, go throughout the whole night. I've been able to focus better and control my thoughts more, which has really helped. And just the whole focus aspect, especially with homework. It's gotten a lot better. Just to be able to relax and have one thought at a time. Having such a welcoming group to come and to do it with you guys, it's been it's not like a doctor's office, having to go in and get some medicine or get a shot or whatever. I'm actually coming in to get better, and that's what I feel like when I'm coming in here. So I guess just the experience really has been the best part.
I feel like a brand new me. I get up in the morning, and sometimes when I'm at work or when I'm doing things, I'm like, I can't believe I feel this good.
With him, it was practically right away, because being developmentally delayed, and he was like even borderline like autistic, kind of going down that path to some degree. Not sure if it was a mild form or not, but we started telling almost overnight. He started sleeping better. He'd always had sleep issues from the time he was born. He was able to sleep a lot better. His communication was always limited to a few words at a time. But he started speaking more in sentences. He began to be more affectionate. He went from struggling in school, especially with grasping new concepts and new learning strategies. He's really come a long way, to the point where now he's even making A's and B's. A few times he's even made the A honor roll. And so we're very proud of him for that. He's worked really hard.
Everything has been helped. Every part about me has been helped. The pain, I've also had severe headaches. The headaches are gone. I think that's due to the way I'm eating now. I'm eating healthier, a lot more veggies, and it's not just eating vegetables it's not the old same routine. It's mixed up and it's fun.
Mostly Dr. Weaver, she was very on top of it. She knew that there was something more deep than just the migraines causing my seizures, and so she did blood work. We did liver cleanses, we did gut cleanses, we did some blood work which showed that I was allergic to gluten, which she knew was causing my migraines, which, because I don't feel a migraine pain most of the time, mine comes out in seizure form. She didn't just adjust me, but she went deeper than that, and she got real personal, and since then she's found out things I didn't even know about myself, but she's done it in a way that other doctors wouldn't do. Our goal is to start our family out gluten-free, because you never know what your babies could be allergic to, and I never want my children to have to go through what I went through growing up because of an allergy that we didn't know I had, and so I just want to prevent that before we ever have to reach that issue. I just feel amazing. The best part would be that I've reached every goal that was my dream, and that I can still do it, but now I'm at once a month, and it's not a hassle to get here. I enjoy coming, because I'll sit at my computer at work and I'm like, oh, I'm getting tight. I'm ready to go to Dr. Weaver. So it's just, it's a happy place to come, and it's not a dreadful place at all. And knowing that the more you come, the more goals you'll reach, and that I'll stay seizure free since my last one was October, that it makes it definitely worth coming, and I want to continue.
Good. Basically exceeded our expectations, I guess you could say, because I mean, we're very, very pleased, very, very excited to see where he's come.
Y'all are specialized in what you do, and I know that I can come to you with any health or questions with food or anything like that, and Dr. Weaver with any chiropractic and stuff like that. And so that has been great that each person so well knows what they're doing. For me, the whole concept of wellness was just a surprise. It's just amazing that you can come to a place and it covers your whole body, the whole body.
You hear about the education of it, you know, beyond what we knew in the beginning, and to you know, to be able to share that with others is very very important to us. I've shared with many people on my job or in my circles, you know, about what we do here.
I would recommend it to others tremendously because it's helped me beneficially with my brain, and just with like the worry and stress has gone down tremendously. So I would definitely recommend that with anybody who, you know, ADD or whatever, just, you know, has tremendous worrying. I would definitely recommend it to them because it is a super beneficial help. Whether it's with chiropractic or it's with brain scanning, you're, you know, trying to fix the problem.
If they're having any issues, they definitely need to come, and it's life-changing, and it's not the cracking of the neck. It's wonderful.
Renee, we're outside breathing. We're learning how to breathe better because I don't think that you know all there is to know about breathing. And so we have a guest with us to show us how, with all of these great tools here. Dr. Corinne Weaver is here, all the way from North Carolina. Thank you. And showing us how to breathe and exercise a little bit better. So thank you.
You know, I was 10 years old riding my brand new pink bicycle. All of a sudden, a horsefly lands on my shoulder.
Ooh, horseflies are bad.
I reach over to knock it off, and I go flying over the handlebars. I wake up in the hospital missing my front teeth, and I can't breathe.
Oh.
That day changed my life forever, and I dedicated my whole life to studying breathing. And I've been able to help 120,000 patients over the course of 12 years in practice. And I believe every ailment we can trace back to improper breathing.
You know, there's so many times that I've heard that we don't use our full lung capacity.
We don't. You know, when I had that head trauma, when your head goes forward, we had to take care of our spine. And when it goes forward, a third of our lung capacity is gone.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, so this is all about that. You wrote a book, and it's a bestseller.
Yes.
At Learning How to Breathe.
Learning How to Breathe, #1 on Amazon. And there's 3 common mistakes that people make when they breathe. The first, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So we're just showing a copy of this book here, Learning How to Breathe. So just remember that that's out everywhere as we're talking.
Yes, the first common mistake that people make when they breathe is time. I'm a mom of 3 kids. We're always on the go, taking our kids here and there, and we're not taking the time to take the deep breaths.
And a deep breath is more than you think, right? I mean, you're going all the way and then holding it a little bit.
Mm-hmm, and then just releasing it.
Okay. And then do you do in through the nose, out through the mouth? Is that really important?
Always through your nose. And the new study that just came out, the more that you breathe through your nose, your memory gets better.
Okay, good. And then you have these bands here. So what is, you're going to show us some exercises too?
Yeah, well, we got to take care of our back, you know? Mm-hmm. And so one way to really improve our posture, which is the second common mistake that we make, because we're always looking at our cell phone screens and our computers.
We're hunched over.
We're hunched over, wearing our shoulders
instead of opening up the lungs.
So what we're going to do is bring those shoulders down and then bring it out and then bring it back in. And the goal of this is to make that mid-back really strong to help bring your shoulders back so you can breathe better.
Oh my gosh. And you have 3 kids too?
I have 3 kids.
Wow, it is busy. I feel like I don't ever have time to breathe.
Ooh, Ooh, I know, right? And the third common mistake is that we are breathing in the wrong chemicals. We wake up in the morning, we're putting
Hairspray.
Hairspray, shampoo, we're breathing in these candles, all these artificial scents. So today I brought a diffuser which has wonderful essential oils in it, and I have eucalyptus and peppermint and melaleuca. Not only do these oils help clean the air, they help you open up your sinuses so you can breathe better.
I love that. You know, it's funny, my son who's almost 12, each one of them, there's one who's 9 and one who's 12, they each have a diffuser, and they like to put stuff in it every night.
Oh yeah, it helps you relax. You know, we just have to chill out and just calm our nerves. You know? And also, you know, allergies is a big component.
And you said you had a lot of allergies.
Yes, I had a lot of allergies, and my worst asthma attack was when I ate lasagna and a big bowl of ice cream. Later I found out I was allergic to gluten and dairy, and that was causing me to have a lot of inflammation. So I definitely recommend getting an allergy test done to see not just environmental but food allergies as well.
Right, so the next time you have lasagna and ice cream and you think, oh my God, I'm just so full, maybe there's something more to it.
Right, exactly, exactly. You know, we use a wonderful test called Thermography camera, and it shows inflammation. It detects inflammation not only in your sinuses, but in your lungs and your diaphragm.
Okay, so how can people get started tonight? Like, say they're watching this and they're going, okay, I want to start breathing better tonight. What steps can we take?
Well, this is the first one. You know, like I said, you got to take care of your back. You got to take care of your back. And just like I tell all my patients, our bodies are wonderful healing machines. You know, just like Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz had all the power inside her to get home, we have all the power inside us to heal with our breath.
All right. Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Corinne Weaver. And Learning How to Breathe is the name of the book?
Yes.
Appreciate you being here. I love this, the diffusing and breathing. Very nice.
Hello, everyone. Joining us today. I know you guys just saw me in San Diego talking about breathing. And, you know, we have to focus on what's our why and why I'm even doing working with kids with ADD and ADHD. So the reason why is that this is my family here, and I have 3 kids. And like I said, I couldn't breathe, and I had really bad asthma. And I was living on breathing machines. I love kids, and I wanted to actually be a pediatrician. But as a kid, I kept getting on more and more medications due to my breathing issues. And I was on, you know, breathing machines and steroids. And then my parents did not want me to live in the ER, so they had to get the breathing machines at the house. And all of this, with all this said, all the medications that I was on, it just created a major disturbance within my body. And so my wonderful uncle, Amazon John from the jungle, Amazon, he would actually come in. And when he would come in to see us, he would bring in some natural herbs, like I was just saying, peppermint and eucalyptus. And he would bring those in to help me to breathe, to calm my anxiety down from having an asthma attack. And I knew there was something very powerful in the natural herbal remedies. So when I went to go visit with him, he got in a car accident while he was visiting his wife, Olivia Newton-John. And yes, the Olivia Newton-John, I know I had to stop for a second because people were like, who? And so, yeah, so he went to go visit her, and he got in a car accident, and he fractured his vertebrae in his spine. And I went to go visit with pain laying on the couch, and he was not into drugs at all and wanted to do natural remedies. And he just asked me to work on his back. Well, I was 16. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just felt empowered to help him. So I started working on his back. And as I did that, he actually said, you have healing hands. You should be a chiropractor, because he felt so much better. And so that's where my journey began, is learning about chiropractic and how it can actually change everything within the body and get our brain to body to communicate better. And so my family, my main mission for my family was that I did not want them to be to live on medication like I did. I didn't want them to have a symptom and for me to look into the medicine cabinet and reach and here's this drug for this, here's your drug for this. I really wanted their bodies to function the way it's designed to function. And so here I am. I have Noah, and I had my kids actually naturally at home, and Noah was a noticeable kid. He's the oldest, the cutie in the middle there. And he was just a very easygoing kid. And I was like, wow, parenting is so easy. What is the deal with all my friends having so many parenting issues, right? And so then I have my crazy Cora. So I just finished a book called No More Meds, which you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. My first book was mostly about asthma and allergies with learning how to breathe. And my second book is more about children, with the ADHD. And so the reason I wrote it was mostly because of her. And so here she is, and her little personality came out about 6 months to 9 months old. We knew she was a little crazy kid, right? So she was not my kid that I would tell her what to do and she would do it. She was always very little defiant. And she had, very beginning, she had speech issues and dyslexia, and some behavioral issues and ADD and ADHD, all of the combination with her brain. She was not able to focus in school, was doing very, very poorly in school, even with the multiple thousands of dollars spending on therapies. We saw a little bit of improvement, but not much. And so in the last year, she is 10, fixing to be 11, but last year when she was 9, I said, you know what, I've gotten to a point where I have to do something because she still is having so much trouble focusing in school. She's having trouble with reading. And so that is when my friend, Dr. Steve Conicello, he was really into the brain balance centers, and he knew more about ADD and ADHD. And he was like, for Cora, because he saw her act up and just being so frustrated with her body. And he said, why don't you do neurofeedback? And I was like, what in the world is neurofeedback? What are you talking about? So we're going to get into what neurofeedback is in just a minute. But unfortunately, we live in a world, especially in America, is that if we have a medical condition or if we have a problem, usually our thought is, what drugs do I need to take? And then it seems like as soon as you get on that medication, here we are, trillions of dollars spent on medications in the U.S., and 12.6 million adults and 6.4 million children in America have ADHD. And 31.6 million adults, we suffer with depression. 3.3 million adults suffer with anxiety. There's more than 37 million Americans suffering with migraines, and 6 million people suffer with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or some kind of dementia within the body. So we have to make some changes. I really do believe drugs are used for certain things, but we have gotten into a society where we are being over-medicated, and there's 106,000 deaths per year that we are properly prescribed, and it's administered properly. And then there's only 17,000 with the bad drugs. So we definitely have a problem with our society thinking that there is the miracle pill. Let's give our child or this adult, let's take this miracle pill and everything's going to be better. We know that's not the case, but yet we still do that because we're so brainwashed. So we're going to give you some things that we can do to help us, to help our body get back and redesigned and balanced. And we know, for instance, I know this is funny, we know, for instance, this dog needs to be walked, right? But are we walking the dog? No, we're actually in the car driving, so the dog can get this exercise, but we are not being proactive in exercising ourselves. So according to the CDC, there's 150,000 children that are taking right now, they're taking the Ritalin, and 5 million are on some kind of stimulant drug. In 2013, 1 in 5 high school age boys were diagnosed with ADHD, and 6.4 million were in the past decade. So it is a major childhood epidemic. U.S. children consume 3 times the amount of stimulants than the rest of the world's children combined. So I want to give you just some statistics with that, because we have a major health crisis. And, you know, it's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse. I have my sister she's actually an elementary school teacher, and she's got about 3 kids with ADHD. She's got a kid with autism, a couple of kids with learning disabilities in her class. And so I've been giving her in the past year some coping mechanisms that she can do just to make it through the day when you have kids with all these disorders. And what they just got available in her school system, which I think is a great idea, and that's what we were discussing for her school, is flexible seating, because these kids need to actually be moving around. It actually helps them to move. And so if we have them in a standardized desk that we normally had when we were growing up, that's very problematic for these children. And, you know, I was talking to a parent the other day, and mostly they were just saying, you know, Dr. Weaver, why? I mean, why is it such a major problem? Why is there so many kids having these brain disorders? It's the number one reason children visit their doctor. And everyone. In fact, I think we have a grandmother on here that it's affecting the grandmother, the parents. I mean, we have a child with all kinds of disorders. It affects not just one person, but the whole dynamic of the family. So just like I was talking about earlier, what is the main cause of this problem with our children and even adults that have been suffering for so many years? In fact, I just started working with an adult now, and you should see his list of medications that he's been on since 2nd grade. And, you know, I'll see kids come in that are in their high school years, and they've been on 4 different medications to try to help them to focus. This one doesn't work. Oh, well, let's try this one. Oh, you have anxiety now? Well, let's do this. Oh, you're having depression? Let's do this one. And so what we find is that there's 3 types of negative stress that can cause these reactions to our brain to body communication. The first one is physical, and that makes the most sense. You know, I have, just like I was 10 years old running my brand new pink bicycle, right? So I had that really bad head trauma, and it caused me to have anxiety and allergies and asthma and all these issues. So there's sometimes there can be a physical trauma to the brain, into the body, and just create that imbalance. Another one that is huge, which I think contributor, is chemical negative stress. We have been exposed, and especially our children these days, if you actually take the umbilical cord and test blood, we're looking at over 200, maybe even 300 different chemicals before the baby's even brought into the world that this baby's been exposed to. And so these chemicals add up with a disturbance within the brain. There's some chemicals we cannot control that's in our environment, but there's a lot of chemicals we can control within our body. And so when I work with these parents and grandparents, basically I have to say that food is medicine. You know, one thing, I got tested on Cora when she was young and she was having all these behavioral issues. She acted up the worst. Like when I would eat lasagna, I would have the worst asthma attack. Well, Cora, when she would eat pizza, her ADD and ADHD would get so out of hand, and her behavior would get so disruptive. And I'm like, what's wrong with pizza, right? So we found that she has a sensitivity to gluten and dairy. But the situation is, gluten is definitely not the same that it used to be 50 years ago because of the chemicals. There is so many chemicals in our food. So when I talk to parents and when I talk to grandparents, you know, that is the first step. Is if we treat food as medicine, then we will actually make the first step and clean out our pantry and start buying healthier foods, real foods, that will make a huge difference for them. You know, we've grown up where we're on the go, like I was saying earlier, and there's so many fast food restaurants and chains, and so we stop here and then we go play football, right? And so they're eating Chick-fil-A, and then we're throwing, you know, then they're going to play football, or they're going to do this and that. and they're really not having the time, like I said earlier, to really relax. Their brain is so overstimulated, and that's what we notice when we do brain maps and EEGs, which I'll go over in just a minute. The last one is emotional stress. And we see this a lot when I'm working with a kid. I'm really trying to figure out, and even an adult, when these symptoms started. I want to know, was it from the day one? Was it you were born this way? You were acting like this since day one? Or did you notice the behavior started changing around 5 or 6? And so if I can relate it to, that emotional stress, let's say we had a kid, his parents got divorced, for instance, or he lost his grandmother, or something, life is hard, it's really, really tough. And if we don't take the time just to sit and breathe and relax a little bit, it's hard for us to get through these moments. But yeah, there's things that can happen in our life. Emotional stress is a big one. Like I said, a divorce, losing a pet, anything like that could have stirred up some of the behavior that we're having with that brain to body communication. So we have to get down, is it physical, chem, or emotional? Or sometimes it's a combination of two, or it's all three. And then if we break down where the actual negative stress is coming from, we can really relate on how to get back to retrain that brain. Because stress is a big component of how our whole body functions. I do adrenal tests in our office, and we're looking at cortisol levels. That's what the adrenals produce. And every single adrenal test that I do is pretty much out of whack. Either it's completely way too high or completely correct cortisol levels at all. And so when the adrenals get way fatigued and tired and too high, it's a huge imbalance within the body, mostly blood. So blood sugar gets way out of hand, and so what we find with a lot of these kids, they might be having some hypoglycemia show up in their blood work, or they might even be pre-diabetic, which we have seen with kids. And so if blood sugar is not stabilized, it just creates a huge stress within the body. And so because it's always trying to regulate and stabilize, and when it can't, it just interferes with the whole brain and the thyroid and the hormones and all of every single cell. So that's what I was just talking about, was the insulin resistance. So when the adrenals get way out of hand, the cells actually become insulin resistant. And you start having these weird symptoms like I'm always hungry all the time, or I'm always tired, I can't lose weight, I'm craving sugar. After I eat, I just want to sleep, I start getting headaches. I mean, we hear so many symptoms of patients coming in, and I'm like, that's just warning signs that something is wrong with the body. There's a huge imbalance that we have to figure out. And it is what we do in our office is very comprehensive. Every person that I work with is so completely different. In fact, I'm working with a type 1 diabetic person right now, and what I'm doing with her is completely different than I would do if there was another type 1 diabetic person. If they had the same diagnosis, even ADHD, if they had the same diagnosis, I'm not doing the exact same thing, because each child and each adult is so genetically different. But I'm going to go over some basics that I think is very important. And so here it is. Here's this plant. It's about to die. It does not look pretty. So what it needs is, and when I do this with kids, they always get this right. They know this plant needs water. It does not need cheerwine. It does not need Sundrop. It does not need soda or Pepsi to make this plant back to life. And so we have to remember, giving our kids good, healthy water is what they need. They need to stay hydrated. A lot of times when I do blood work on kids is that they are dehydrated. They are not getting the correct amount of water throughout the day. And so that was one thing that I gave Rachel, my sister, as a school teacher. She's actually allowed to have a diffuser in her room so we can do some essential oils to help the children stay calm and focused. And then also they can bring water. And so they all have their water bottle. And she actually reminds all the kids to drink every hour. And so that's really important, every hour, just to get a glass of water so your body is staying hydrated. A lot of times the kid thinks they're hungry, but usually they're thirsty. So getting that water in accurate amounts makes a huge difference for them to stay on task. Another one, which I'm so thankful we still have recess, right? And is the getting out in the sun. Vitamin D is so crucial. So if this plant needs sun, how much sun do we need? We definitely check vitamin D levels on children and adults, and what we're seeing is the vitamin D is so low. Well, if vitamin D is so low, then that means that the liver needs vitamin D, and what it actually does is help the liver get rid of toxins. And so if we're not getting enough vitamin D, then we're holding more toxins in, and it's actually affecting our immune system in a very negative way. So we have to get either a supplement of vitamin D or getting out in the sun more often. Very good for us. Just like this plant needs good nutrients, I just talked about earlier, food and how important it is. And food can be medicine, and giving this plant the right nutrients, it can come back to life. And the last thing we want to do is spray a bunch of toxins in this plant. So again, there is so many toxins in hairsprays and hair gel and that Axe. I don't even know what that Axe stuff is. You know what I'm talking about, what those teenage boys wear? Oh my goodness. So I have a teenage boy, and his friend came over, and I was like, seriously, you've got to not put that Axe on. That is crazy. Because you're spraying that, and who knows what those chemicals are doing to your brain. So the main reason that we want to focus on food is, like I said, is food is medicine. But we want to make sure when we're feeding our kids and our adults is that food is to provide energy, and is to give us life and promote growth and repair our tissues. I mean, that's something that we have to think about when we're feeding and eating ourselves is this food I'm fixing to put in my body, is it something that's going to help me move to the next step, or is this going to harm me and hurt my body? So now we're going to get into neurofeedback and what neurofeedback does. So neurofeedback is so amazing in the fact that we actually do a brain map, and we can actually see and tap into the brain and see what's going on with the brain itself. And so we're doing EEG readings, but we're looking at 4 different waves. We're looking at the alpha, the delta, the beta, and the theta. And what we're doing is looking at those ratios in different areas of the brain. And it has been, lots of research has come about with this, with anxiety and depression, ADHD, learning disabilities, and the list goes on. And what we have found in our office is when I bought it for Cora last year, actually, poor thing, she was a guinea pig, because everything I do, I usually try it on my family before I bring it into my practice. And so I did it for her, and it took a good 30 sessions for her. And all she had to do was watch a program, and what we did was stimulate her brain in different areas with light and sound. And what we found when we did her is just a dramatic change. Like, she was telling us, like, she could see like words where she would take a book and just like throw it at me, like, I'm not reading that book, those words don't make any sense. And so she would look at a book completely differently and say, you know what, Mom, I can read this, it's making sense. And I was like, oh, it's so cool, so all of a sudden the words were kind of coming together. And yeah, she's not perfect yet, but I would say just like 80% huge change in just her focus, her behavior. I should have took a picture of her this morning. She was drawing out thank you letters for her teacher, just the sweetest notes to give to her teacher today, which I know that's going to brighten their day today. And so, with this device that we've been able to help, in fact, I am going to speak at Fort Bragg, I believe, pretty soon. I think it's in July. And we're going to talk with the Marines, I think Marines there, maybe a group of people in the military, but about PTSD. And we've seen some really good results with that. And then any kind of brain concussion or injury, bipolar disorder, and then autism, we're working with kids with that. So very amazing what we can do with the neurofeedback. I wish there was more doctors like me doing this. There's not that many, but eventually we will get the word out there because it can make a huge difference. My goal is actually to get it in the school systems because I feel like the school systems needs this so much. So working on that, but got to work with the government, so we'll see how long that takes. But anyway, here is the neurofeedback. Here is the different brain maps that you can actually see. And so that is exactly what I was showing you guys with the different waves. And so what we have noticed is not every ADD, not every ADHD, not every anxiety, not every depression is exactly the same, but there is certain patterns that we notice in the brain. And so what we're doing is retracking and retraining the brain. And when we retrain the brain in that neuropathway, it makes it permanent, which is really, really cool. So we actually have a home unit. So we do have some patients that live quite a distance to come see us. And so what we did with them is we did some training here, and then we got their brain where they protocols of what they can do, and they wear the glasses. And again, they can watch any show they want to, and they're able to do the home unit at home, which has been a very, very effective because then they can do 30 minutes a day with the brain training. And like I told, it makes more sense if I explain it like riding a bike. So, you don't know how to ride a bike at the beginning. And so when we're getting in and we're training the different pathways in the brain, it's literally like trying to learn a new behavior. And you might fall down a couple times. So the first few sessions might be a little rough. But then you start to get the hang of it, and then you know how to ride the bike, and then you don't have to be trained. I don't have to train my kids how to ride a bike. Like once they get it, they get it. And that's what's really cool is because once it's done and once the brain learns that new pattern, it's actually permanent. And so you don't have to retrain that area again. It actually sticks. So we have used it also to help with performance. People that are really into sports and art and just they want to improve their mental capacity, or they're noticing some decline with memory, with Alzheimer's or dementia. So those are the performance mechanisms that we have seen. Now, what we do in our office is called upper cervical chiropractic. And I'm just going to go over this really quick because I know I'm going to run out of time and I have some questions that I want to get to. But upper cervical chiropractic is dealing with the first two bones in your spine. And what we're looking at here is the brain communicating down to the spine. And what I noticed is when I actually had the bad injury to my head and neck, that bone got way out of whack, and there's something called vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve goes down to your stomach and it goes down to your lungs. And so when I got my upper cervical correction, immediately I noticed I could start to breathe better, and I was actually symptoms started to fade away where I didn't need the inhalant. So I upper cervical chiropractic in the spine, and you don't need as many corrections when you get your head on straight. So that's all you need to do, right, is get your head on straight. So we do labs here, and I'm looking just of labs, and what I do is, why do we have so many food days? Again, it's because our and people have major gut issues. So in the gut, so if the brain's not working right, usually the gut's not happy too. And so there's different bacteria in our gut that actually can control our brain, believe it or not. And when we see yeast in like a stool test, for instance, if we're seeing bad bacteria, or if we're seeing yeast overgrowth, that can really play a big impact on how our brain functions. So it's really neat to see these different tests that we can do in our office to make it more comprehensive toward the patient and really get down to the root cause of the problem. Now, we do thermography in our office, which is fabulous. It actually is a good start, is to do thermography. And the reason why we like to start with thermography, because it's like a wake-up call. You can actually see the inflammation, because that's where it starts. So when we start seeing the inflammation within the body, and if you know where the inflammation areas are, then we can give a patient a good protocol to eliminate the inflammation, just like the inflammation that's happening into the brain. So we have people that have major gut issues, and then they have brain issues with like depression, anxiety, and even focusing an aspect. So you have to get that brain and gut and get that whole function right. And so thermography is a great little tool to show that. And we do natural remedies to actually help clean up the gut. And a lot of it is just removing the bad food that we're eating. We do a lot of education. As you can see, we're doing a webinar today. And so we do have a wonderful lifestyle program where we educate people on getting started, how to do nutrition 1 and 2, how to cook when you're going gluten-free and dairy-free, if that's what you need to do, how to actually safely detoxify your body, how to make shopping easy. My husband works at Costco, so, having a family of 3, it's very affordable to eat healthy. In fact, we probably save a lot more money now than we ever did before, because we hardly ever eat out. And so we just come up with plans that kids know and our kids love, and all of our recipes are, of course, are kid friendly, because if they don't like it, they're not going to eat it, right? So, but if their taste buds are really messed up at the beginning, it takes time to change those taste buds. So we work on exercise. Just actually what I do like is the trampoline, and it's so bizarre for a chiropractor to say that, right? But if you actually do the trampoline correctly, it can be fantastic to help kids with ADD and ADHD. So when Core sometimes starts going a little crazy in the house, I'm like, all right, let's go jump on the trampoline. Let's get the energy out, right? And so we go out there and jump for like 10 or 15 minutes. And actually it stimulates the whole entire body, and it helps remove lymph. So it's fantastic to do. And then we give, some stress management, because really that's kind of the key. If we're under a lot of stress, that's going to affect everything in our body, like we said earlier, with those negative stresses. And then we have wonderful herbology, because we love herbs, and we love what herbs can do in a very powerful way if they're used correctly. So the World Health Organization says 90% of all diseases that are basically prevalent today are not treatable, which is sad with the medical, procedures. So, and that's just the World Health Organization. I mean, there's so many diseases that we know that can be treatable with lifestyle. So that's so important. So I've asked people, can we predict the future of our health? And I say yes. If you order the correct test and determine the true underlying cause of why. We are focusing on the cause and not the symptoms. And so what I'm asking is, actually, let's do 2 offers. Let's do the apply now. So we have what we call an apply now. We're just going to load an offer for you guys. If you're like, this is something I might want to, get started on. Here is my new book called The No More Meds. And that is going to be a great book. The end of June is when it plans to come out. There's going to be so much loaded information with that. I even have a foreword by my aunt, Olivia Newton-John, which is a really neat foreword that she's writing for me. So blessed to have her in our family. And so, with this being said, if there's something that you want to do, like if you want to just get started, this is a way to go to drcorinne.tv, and you can hear more about what we do in the office, but you can apply now. And what that means is, if you feel like, hey, this is something I want to start looking at, I think my child needs help, and I want someone just to, I want a doctor to kind of see everything, because we look at everything. We ask a billion questions, because we do want to find out what is the main cause, and is it something that we can do here in the office to help you. And we use a systematic approach and working on mentoring. We feel like the support is what people need more than anything else when you're making these lifestyle changes. So you can hit on that now. Like I said, it's apply now, and it goes to drcorinne.tv, and there's just some forms to fill out. And what you do is once you fill out the forms, they'll come directly to me. Just email them to me, or you can fax them to our office, and I'll review your case or your child's case and see if we are a good fit for you. And if you believe this is something you want to do, you can go ahead and get started with that. All right. Let's see what we have. All right, so the last little pieces here is we put the whole person together. Like I said, 4% of failure is due to just not having a system. So if you have a system in place, and that's what we do, is focus on this puzzle piece here, and we're looking at, is the nervous system functioning the way it's designed to function? Are we working out like we should? Are we eating the things that we should to help our body achieve the health goals we want to achieve? Is our hormones all out of whack or need to be balanced? Do we need a detox because we have a lot of chemicals in our system? And I know that seems so overwhelming right now because you're like, oh my gosh, Dr. Weaver, just give me the magical pill. And like I said, there's not a magical pill out there. If there was, everybody would be taking it and we would not have any problems, right? So what we find is once you apply now, I can actually see the major disturbances, and we actually do the diagnostic testing to see what areas that we need to focus on to get your body and brain functioning better. Let's see. Last questions I want to ask you guys is, how would life be if I were able to resolve my health issues? I mean, I would have spent, I don't know, I think I did spend $40,000. I did spend $40,000 on Corey last year. But, how much money are you willing to spend if you get the results? Well, if you can get the results that you need for your child or for yourself, it's worth it. People spend, I just was talking just recently to a patient where he gave me his symptoms. I told him, you have this, which was actually an H. pylori bad bacteria. He decided not to listen to me and go to his medical profession. They spent over $8,000 on diagnostic testing. And guess what the diagnosis was? H. pylori, which I told him before the $8,000 was spent. So that's where I was like, are you kidding me? All of those diagnostic testing. And then he said, okay, you have H. pylori. And now he's coming back to me like, okay, you were right. Now what do I do? Because guess what the treatment is antibiotics. And so I'm like, well, and that's what got him into this place at the beginning. He got H. pylori because he was on antibiotics. So imagine the distress with this guy. So I'm like, if they give you antibiotics, it might help for a couple of weeks, but is that really getting down to the cause of the problem? So we discussed some things, and he's right on track and doing what he's supposed to do. Within a few weeks, he feels like 1,000 times better. He was just having so much stomach pain. And when you have so much stomach pain due to a bad bacteria, you're just seeking out. I mean, he was thinking he had cancer or something serious. And that's actually what the doctor was like, oh my God, you might have cancer. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. That's good. That's going to help your stress levels, right? And someone telling you might have cancer. And then doing all these diagnostic testing, and you have to wait for 2 weeks, and then you're like, oh, okay, I don't have anything serious, but I'm going to go back to Dr. Weaver. Yeah, so how would your life be different? How has my life been affected? Like I said, a lot of times at child, the life has been affected greatly, and the relationships, and then they can't work and they're not able to enjoy life. And, basically what I need to know from you is how motivated are you to really take care of this problem? Because if you're like, I want like a 3 or 4 or even a 5, I'm not going to work with you if you're like that. I really need patients to be like, I am 100% in whatever you say I want to do, and I'm ready to jump in to get my health back under control. So, what's next? I have here my cat, and the cat is not what you want to do next, right? So please don't procrastinate. If you're on this webinar, or if you couldn't be on today, and you're going to listen tomorrow, what I want you to do is really wake up and stop procrastinating, because like I said, it's not going to get any better. You need help. And that's why we're here. I love doing what I'm doing. And so the last thing, if you want to get started too with some diagnostic testing, we do have an offer for you guys. And in the offer, what we're doing is, earlier, like I mentioned, the thermography. And the thermography is just an amazing tool to see inflammation. In fact, we did a few kids last week. And when we did 4 kids last week. And when we were doing the kids, and we could just see, and that one of the kids actually been diagnosed with celiac, and they had to do like an endoscopy, a colonoscopy, like all this stuff on a 4-year-old, and taking biopsies and all this mess. And we could clearly see what was going on with thermography without doing all those rough procedures. And so, we could see that his gut was not functioning properly. Yes, he's been diagnosed with celiac. And so what we're doing is seeing the thermography, and like I said earlier, we can see all the inflammation areas. And so we got a great special for you guys. It's normally valued at $3,000, but we're only offering it for $1,497. And in that, what we're doing is doing a brain map. Like we said earlier, we can actually see how the brain is functioning. We do the thermography so we can see all the inflammation. And then we're doing a comprehensive blood panel to actually see how the body and hormones is affected, and how it actually, all the organs are, functioning. The hair analysis, the reason I do the hair analysis is because what I find with the negative stress, we find that there's so many chemicals within the hair. The body's trying to get rid of bad chemicals. Really see high, now I'm seeing for kids is high aluminum. And for adults, I'm seeing more high mercury. And so when I see these, and I'm looking for zinc and copper and different mechanisms like that, because that can really throw our body and tells us how we're actually absorbing B vitamins, which is a key ingredient. So, and you'll get to meet with me for at least an hour to go over all the testing and come up with a game plan, okay? Because once I see all of these, I'll know exactly what we need to do to get the body and brain functioning the best that it can. So that's what I all have for you guys today. I want to get to the questions because I have a few more minutes.